My husband Victor, standing in front of a house I had never seen. Victor holding a little girl with his exact eyes, her dark curls bouncing as she laughed at whoever was behind the camera. Victor kissing a woman with auburn hair on what looked like Christmas morning, presents scattered beneath a tree decorated with handmade ornaments. The timestamp read, 8 months ago. 8 months ago, Victor told me he was in Singapore closing a deal. 8 months ago, I spent Christmas alone in our Manhattan penthouse, video calling him while he claimed jet lag and poor Wi-Fi connection. 8 months ago, I believed every single word that came out of his mouth. I heard Meredith's footsteps approaching from the hallway. She had stepped away to take a phone call, leaving me alone with her laptop and what was supposed to be innocent browsing for her birthday party venue. But I had clicked the wrong folder. Or maybe it was the right one. She walked into the kitchen and stopped dead in her tracks. The color drained from her face so fast I thought she might faint. "Natalie," she whispered. I turned the laptop screen toward her. My hands were steady. My voice was ice. "How much, Meredith? How much did he pay you to destroy me?" Her mouth opened and closed like a fish gasping for air. She stammered. "It is not what you think, really." I stepped closer to her. "Because what I think is that my husband has another family. What I think is that my best friend of 15 years has been helping him hide it. What I think is that every secret I ever told you went straight back to him like intelligence reports to an enemy." She backed against the counter, tears streaming down her face. "Please, Natalie, just let me explain. You have 30 seconds. But she could not explain. There was no explanation that could undo what I had just discovered. There was no excuse that could repair 15 years of friendship shattered by greed and betrayal. Before I tell you how I dismantled everything Victor built, how I exposed every lie he constructed, and how I made every person who helped him deceive me pay for what they did, let me take you back to where this story began. Because this is not just about discovering my billionaire husband's secret family. This is about how a woman who trusted too deeply learned to become the architect of her own justice. And trust me, by the end of this story, you will understand why the quietest person in the room is often the most dangerous. Have you ever trusted someone so completely that the very idea of them lying to you seemed impossible? Have you ever built your entire life around someone only to discover that the foundation was rotten from the start? If you have, then you already know the feeling that was spreading through my chest as I stood in that kitchen. If you have not, keep watching, because what I am about to share with you will change the way you look at trust forever. My name is Natalie, and 6 years ago, I believed I had found my soulmate. I met Victor Harrington at a gallery opening in Manhattan on a rainy Thursday evening in October. I was there as a guest of my employer, an interior design firm that handled properties for New York's elite. He was there because he owned the gallery. I did not know who he was when we first spoke. He was standing alone by a piece of abstract art, his head tilted to the side, looking genuinely confused. I made the mistake of laughing, and he turned to face me. "You do not like it either," he said with a small smile. "I actually have no idea what it is supposed to represent," I admitted. He laughed, and the sound was warm. "Neither do I. And I own this place. Then why display it? My curator says it is brilliant. I trust her judgment." He shrugged, almost embarrassed. "I am better with numbers than art." That honesty disarmed me completely. In a room full of people performing sophistication, pretending to understand things they did not, this man in an expensive suit admitted his ignorance like it was nothing to be ashamed of. We talked for 2 hours that night. He asked me about color theory, about why certain spaces made people feel calm while others felt oppressive. He asked about my work, my dreams, my opinions, and more importantly, he actually listened to my answers. By the end of the evening, he had my phone number. Our first date was coffee. Our second was dinner at a quiet Italian restaurant downtown. Our third date was when everything changed. The waiter at the restaurant knew him by name. He refused to bring us a check. When I looked at Victor with confusion, he shifted uncomfortably in his seat. "You could have told me," I said, suddenly self-conscious about the modest dress I thought was perfectly appropriate. "Would you have said yes to dinner if I had?" I thought about it for a long moment. Honestly, probably not. I had seen what money did to people. I had watched my own parents' marriage crumble under the weight of financial stress. I had watched friends date wealthy men, only to become accessories rather than partners. But Victor did not treat me like an accessory. He treated me like a discovery. Our courtship was a whirlwind that somehow felt grounded. Yes, he flew us to Paris for dinner once, but he was equally happy ordering takeout and watching documentaries on my tiny apartment couch. He remembered that I hated roses because they reminded me of my grandmother's funeral. He learned my coffee order by the second week. He noticed when I was tired before I even admitted it to myself. One night, about 3 months into dating, I looked at him across the table and said, "You actually see me." He reached for my hand. How could I not? "You are the only thing in any room that makes sense to me." We married after 18 months. It was not the extravagant affair his social circle expected. We exchanged vows in a small garden in Vermont, surrounded by close friends and immediate family. I wore a simple silk dress. He cried when he saw me walk toward him. That image, the image of Victor crying as I walked down that garden path, it haunted me later. How could a man who cried at his own wedding be the same man who was building a secret family behind my back? But I am getting ahead of myself. If you are watching this and you have ever trusted someone who did not deserve it, hit that like button right now, because what comes next is going to make you rethink everything you know about the people closest to you. And make sure you are subscribed, because trust me, you do not want to miss how this story ends. The first few years of our marriage were everything I had hoped for. Victor's technology company had made him wealthy beyond most people's imagination, but he was not consumed by it. He had capable executives running the day-to-day operations, which gave him time he devoted to us. We traveled to places I had only seen in magazines. We renovated a brownstone together, spending weekends arguing about tile choices and paint colors. The first time the plumber accidentally flooded the 3rd floor, we stood in 2 inches of water laughing until our sides hurt. We talked about children. Maybe in a few years, we said, when we were ready, when the timing was right. We built traditions that felt sacred. Sunday morning farmers markets, where Victor would carry all the bags while I picked out fresh vegetables. Friday movie nights, where we would argue about who got to choose. Annual trips to a little bed and breakfast in Maine, where we had first said, "I love you." I became deeply involved in his charitable foundation, organizing fundraisers for education initiatives in underserved communities. It gave me purpose beyond just being someone's wife. Victor encouraged it constantly. "You are better at this than anyone on my actual team," he would say. "You care about the people, not just the tax write-offs." I did care. I threw myself into the work, believing I was building something meaningful alongside the man I loved. But I was also building something else without realizing it. Complete dependence on a reality constructed entirely from his words. Because Victor traveled constantly for business. Tokyo, London, Dubai, Singapore. His empire spanned continents, and I accepted that his work required his physical presence. I never questioned his absences. I never checked his calendar against flight records. I trusted him with the blind faith of someone who believed she had found her soulmate. Looking back now, I can see the cracks, small inconsistencies I smoothed over with desperate excuses. The conference calls he took in the bathroom with the shower running for background noise. The times his phone went straight to voicemail for hours in cities where cell service was never an issue. The gifts he would bring me that seemed almost compensatory, too expensive, too frequent, as if he was buying absolution for sins I did not know existed. And then there was Meredith. Meredith had been my closest friend since college. We were roommates freshman year, bonded by shared insomnia and identical taste in terrible romantic comedies. Through breakups, career changes, family crises, she was my constant. When I married Victor, she was my maid of honor. When she divorced her husband 3 years ago, I helped her move into her new apartment. I stocked her freezer with ice cream and spent 3 weekends helping her rebuild her confidence. Our friendship felt sacred, untouchable. So when she started acting strange about 6 months before everything fell apart, I assumed she was still processing her divorce. She began canceling our lunch dates at the last minute. Something came up. She would text, "Rain check?" When we did manage to meet, she seemed distracted. She checked her phone constantly. She excused herself for whispered calls that went on too long. She lost weight. She started wearing clothes that were not her usual style, more polished, more expensive. Her hair was always perfectly styled now, and her makeup looked professionally done. "Are you seeing someone?" I asked her one day, teasing. Her face flushed a deep red, something like that. It is complicated. I did not press. I respected her privacy. I trusted that when she was ready, she would tell me everything. I had no idea that everything would include my husband. The signs with Victor started around the same time Meredith changed. Looking back, the parallel timing should have been obvious. But love is a kind of blindness, and I was determined not to see. He became more secretive. New passwords appeared on devices that had never been locked before. His trips grew longer and more frequent. When he was home, he seemed present in body but absent in spirit. He stopped asking about my day. He stopped reaching for me at night. When I tried to initiate intimacy, he would roll away claiming exhaustion or an early meeting. One evening, I finally found the courage to ask directly, "Victor, is everything okay with us?" He did not even look up from his phone. "We are fine, Natalie. I am just under a lot of pressure with the new acquisition. Once it closes, things will calm down." I wanted to believe him, so I did. Meanwhile, Victor's business partner's wife, a woman named Helena, started inviting me to lunches where she would probe into my marriage with questions that felt too pointed. "Victor works so hard," she would say, watching my reaction with barely concealed interest. "It must be lonely when he is away so much." There was something almost satisfied in her tone, like she knew a secret that I did not, like she was watching a tragedy unfold and enjoying the show. I would come home from those lunches feeling inexplicably uneasy, and then came the night that changed everything. Victor was in the shower. His phone buzzed on the nightstand, and the screen lit up with a message I could not unsee. "She came by again today. The little one drew you a picture. She misses her daddy." I read those words over and over, trying desperately to force them into a context that did not destroy me. A niece, a goddaughter, some explanation that did not mean what I knew, deep in my bones, it actually meant. When Victor came out of the bathroom wrapped in a towel, I said nothing. My hands were steady. My face was composed. But inside, a part of me had already begun to die. He glanced at his phone, saw the message, and slipped the device into his pocket without a word. "Everything okay?" I asked casually. "Just work stuff." He did not meet my eyes. "I might have to fly out again this weekend." "Of course." I smiled. "I understand." But I did not understand. Not yet. That night, lying beside him in the dark while he slept peacefully, I made a decision. I was going to find out the truth. I know some of you watching this have felt that exact moment, when your gut is screaming that something is wrong, but your heart is begging you to ignore it. Drop a comment below. Did you listen to your instincts, or did you wish you had? And if this story is hitting close to home, share it with someone who needs to hear it. The investigation started small. I began paying attention to details I had previously ignored. When Victor said he was going to Singapore, I casually asked which hotel he was staying at. I noted the time differences, calculated when he should be awake, and called the hotel directly. No guest by that name was registered. He could have used a different name, I told myself. He values privacy. But the excuses were getting harder to believe. I started checking credit card statements. Statements he had never hidden from me because he never thought I would look. What I found made my blood run cold. Purchases in cities he claimed he had never visited. Jewelry bought in Connecticut on days he was supposedly in Tokyo. Restaurant charges at places I had never heard of. For dinners that seated two. And then I found the big ones. A house. A house in Connecticut purchased 3 years ago. Mortgage payments made monthly like clockwork. Tuition payments to a private school called Greenfield Academy. Medical bills for a child named Lily. Lily. She existed. She was 4 years old. And according to these documents, my husband was listed as her father. The math destroyed me. Our marriage was 6 years old. 3 years ago, while I was planning our anniversary trip to Italy, while I was falling more deeply in love with him every single day, Victor was creating another life with another woman. I found her eventually. Her name was Gloria. Her social media profile was private, but her profile picture told me everything I needed to know. She was standing in front of a beautiful colonial house, the same house I had seen in the financial records, the same house that appeared in those photographs on Meredith's laptop. I stared at her face for hours. Auburn hair, green eyes, a warm smile. She looked kind. She looked happy. She looked like a woman in love. She had no idea she was the other woman. Or maybe I was the other woman. At this point, I could not tell who held the real place in Victor's heart. But the worst discovery was still coming. I accessed financial records that Victor did not know I could reach. Years of managing our household accounts had given me skills he never anticipated. I knew the systems. I knew the passwords. I knew where to look. What I found broke something inside me that I do not think will ever fully heal. Monthly transfers, substantial ones, not just to Gloria, but to another account. An account that traced back to a trust fund in Meredith's name. My best friend, the woman who held me when my father died, the woman who stood beside me at my wedding, the woman I told everything to. She had not just known about Victor's double life. She had been paid to maintain it. For years, every confidence I shared with her had been reported back to Victor like intelligence to an enemy. Every suspicion I mentioned had been neutralized by her reassurances. She told me I was being paranoid when I was seeing the truth. She convinced me to trust my husband when every instinct screamed that something was wrong. He paid her to be his spy, his handler, his insurance policy against me ever finding out. That was why she changed 6 months ago. That was why she had money she should not have had. That was why she was always conveniently available to listen to my fears and then talk me out of them. 15 years of friendship, sold for monthly deposits. I sat alone in my home office for 3 hours after that discovery. I did not cry. I did not scream. I felt something cold settle into my bones, something that felt like steel being forged. I was done being the woman who trusted too easily. It was time to become something else entirely. The day I walked into Meredith's apartment and saw those photos on her laptop, I was not surprised anymore. I was prepared. When she came back from her phone call and found me standing at the kitchen counter with the evidence displayed between us, I watched her face crumble with something close to satisfaction. "Natalie," she started. "How much?" I asked. My voice was so calm, it scared even me. "How much did he pay you to destroy me?" She pressed her back against the refrigerator like she was trying to disappear into it. "You do not understand. It started small. He just wanted to know how you were feeling. If you suspected anything." I was desperate, Natalie. After the divorce, I had nothing. He offered me money just to keep him updated. "Keep him updated," I repeated. "You mean spy on me?" She was crying now, mascara running down her cheeks. "I never thought it would go this far. I thought he would leave her. He said he was going to tell you. He said the marriage was already over, and you believed a man who was lying to everyone around him." "I was your friend," she sobbed. "You were never my friend." I picked up my purse from the counter. Friends do not sell each other out. Friends do not help destroy each other's lives for a monthly check. "What are you going to do?" I looked at her one final time, the woman I had trusted with my secrets, my fears, my heart. "I am going to take everything from him," I said quietly. "Every single thing he values. His money, his reputation, his carefully constructed empire. And when I am done with him, I am coming for you." Her face went white. "You will have nothing when this is finished, Meredith. Not his money, not our friendship, not even your self-respect. You sold that the first time you cashed one of his checks." I walked out of her apartment without looking back. The first call I made was to the most ruthless divorce attorney in New York. Her name was Patricia, and her reputation preceded her like a warning. "I need to see you today," I said. "I have evidence of fraud, bigamy, and conspiracy." There was a pause on the other end of the line. "How soon can you get to my office?" I presented Patricia with everything: the financial records, the photographs, the transfers to Gloria, the payments to Meredith. She reviewed the documents for 2 hours without speaking. When she finally looked up, there was something like admiration in her eyes. "Your husband is not legally married to this other woman," she said. "They never filed papers. But the fraud is clear. The concealment of assets is clear. And this prenuptial agreement you signed? What about it? It contains a fidelity clause. His infidelity voids every protection he built into this document. Mrs. Harrington, if we play this right, you will not just win this divorce. You will dismantle him. I want more than that," I said. "I want the world to know exactly who he is." Patricia smiled. It was not a warm smile. "Then let us get to work." We moved quickly and quietly. We froze accounts before Victor even knew I had discovered the truth. We documented everything. We prepared a case that would not only end my marriage, but expose him publicly, devastating the image he had spent years cultivating. The journalist was easy to find. A woman who had been investigating powerful men for years. She was hungry for the story, and I gave her everything she needed. The night before the article was scheduled to run, I decided to confront Victor one final time. I wore the diamond necklace he had given me for our 5th anniversary. I wanted him to see exactly what he was losing. He came home late, as usual. When he walked into the living room and saw me sitting there waiting for him, something in his face shifted. He knew. "Natalie," he said slowly, "whatever you think you know, let me explain." I stood up. "There is nothing to explain, Victor. I have already explained everything to my lawyers, to the forensic accountants, and to the journalist whose article runs tomorrow morning." His face went white. "You would not do that to me, would I not?" I tilted my head, studying him like a stranger. "You taught me something valuable over these past 6 years. You showed me that the people who seem most trustworthy are often the most dangerous." He stepped toward me. "Whatever you want. However much money. We can work this out privately." "Privately?" I laughed, and the sound was hollow. "Like you privately built a house in Connecticut. Like you privately fathered a child while sleeping in my bed. Like you privately paid my best friend to spy on me for years. She told you about that. She did not have to. I found the transfers myself. You underestimated me, Victor. You thought I was so blinded by love that I would never look. But I looked, and I found everything." He ran his hands through his hair, pacing the room. "Natalie, I love you. What Gloria and I have, it is not the same. You are my wife. I was your wife, past tense, and Gloria, she thought she was the love of your life. You told her our marriage was loveless. You told her you were trapped. She means nothing. She has your child." He stopped pacing. For the first time, he looked genuinely afraid. "Lily will be taken care of," I continued. "I made sure of that in the settlement. Children should not pay for their parents' sins. But you will pay for everything. You cannot destroy me," he said, but his voice was shaking. "I built an empire, and I am about to burn it to the ground. If you are watching this, and you are in a situation where someone is making you question your own reality, where they are telling you that your instincts are wrong when they have been right all along, please listen to your gut. And if this story is resonating with you, smash that like button and share it with someone who might need to hear it. Because what happens next is the part I wish someone had told me was possible years ago." The article ran the next morning. By noon, Victor's stock price had dropped 12%. By evening, his board had called an emergency meeting. By the end of the week, investors were fleeing like rats from a sinking ship. The divorce was finalized 4 months later. I received 60% of his visible assets. More importantly, I received something money could not buy: justice. Victor's reputation never recovered. His board forced him out of his own company. The empire he spent decades building crumbled in a matter of months. Last I heard, he was living in London, trying to rebuild with whatever scraps remained. Gloria cooperated with my attorneys once she learned the full truth. We met once, just the two of us, at a quiet coffee shop in the city. It was strange, sitting across from a woman who had unknowingly shared my husband for years. "I thought I was the love of his life," she said quietly, her hands wrapped around her cup. So did I. We looked at each other, two women who had been played by the same con man, two women who had built their dreams around a man who did not deserve either of them. "What happens now?" she asked. "Now we move on. Both of us. We build lives that have nothing to do with him." I made sure Lily was provided for in the settlement. A trust fund for her education, health care coverage until she was an adult. Not because I owed her anything, but because that little girl never asked to be born into her father's web of lies. As for Meredith, the money Victor paid her was flagged as undisclosed income. The tax implications alone crushed her financially. When our mutual friends learned what she had done, her social circle collapsed overnight. She went from having a full calendar to having no one willing to return her calls. She reached out to me twice, once by text, once by email. I never responded. Some betrayals are too complete for forgiveness. Some trust, once broken, can never be repaired. Meredith made her choice when she cashed the first check. She continued making that choice every single month for years. I hope the money was worth it. It has been 18 months since I found those photos on her laptop. 18 months since my life imploded and I had to rebuild from the ashes. The woman I am today would be unrecognizable to the woman I was before. I started my own interior design firm, not through Victor's connections, but through my own talent and hard work. The clients I have now chose me because of what I can offer, not because of who my husband was. I bought an apartment overlooking the river. It is smaller than the penthouse I shared with Victor, but it is filled with light, and it is entirely mine. Every piece of furniture, every color on the walls, every photograph on the shelves, I chose it all. I adopted a dog named Scout. He sleeps at my feet while I work late into the night, his soft snoring the only sound in my peaceful home. I have even started dating again, cautiously, with walls I did not have before. But I am learning that protecting yourself does not mean closing yourself off entirely. It means trusting more wisely, watching more carefully, listening to the instincts you once silenced. Last month, Victor sent me an email. He is still in London, apparently still trying to rebuild, and he wanted to apologize. He wanted closure. I deleted the message without finishing it. Some people do not deserve closure. Some people deserve to live with the weight of what they did for the rest of their lives. Before I share the most important lesson I learned from this entire experience, I want to ask you something. If this story made you feel something, if it made you think about trust, about betrayal, about your own strength, then do me a favor. Hit subscribe and turn on notifications, because every week I share stories like this one, stories that remind us that even when the world tries to break us, we have the power to rebuild. We have the power to become something stronger than we ever imagined. And that like button? It helps more people find these stories when they need them most. Some people think revenge is about anger. They think it is about making someone suffer the way they made you suffer, about screaming and destroying and burning everything down in a fit of rage. But real revenge is quieter than that. Real revenge is refusing to carry their weight anymore. It is building a life so complete, so authentically yours, that their absence becomes irrelevant. It is looking in the mirror and recognizing the person who stares back. Someone stronger than the woman who walked into her best friend's apartment that afternoon. Someone who was forged in fire. Victor stole 6 years of my life with his lies. But he also taught me something invaluable. He taught me that the quietest betrayals are the deepest. That the most dangerous people are not the ones who raise their voices. They are the ones who smile while they destroy you. But he also taught me something else. He taught me that I am capable of more than I ever imagined. That when everything falls apart, I have the strength to pick up the pieces and build something better. That trust, once broken, can be rebuilt with the right people. And that the right people are the ones who earn it through actions, not words. So to anyone watching this who has been betrayed by someone they trusted, who has been made to feel crazy for seeing the truth, who has been told their instincts were wrong when they were right all along, hear me when I say this. You are not weak for trusting. You are not foolish for believing. You saw the best in someone, and they chose to exploit that. That is their failure, not yours. But now you know. And knowing makes you powerful. The woman who walked into that apartment 18 months ago does not exist anymore. In her place stands someone who learned the hardest lesson, that sometimes the people who hold your heart are the same ones planning to crush it. But she also learned this. A heart that survives betrayal does not just heal, it transforms. It becomes something unbreakable. And that is the greatest revenge of all.